All right, and welcome back to another episode of our podcast, but we got a little bit of a different name. We did a slight rebrand going into the new year, mainly because the old name of the department, you really didn't know what exactly it was. So our creative selves, what we've come up with is the sports department, and that makes a lot more sense because when we were in our glorious old radio days, we were just known as the sports guys, and we were part of a sports department at our radio station. So that is now the podcast name of this. It's the sports department. Get used to it. It'll probably change. Probably won't. Who knows? But that's everything. Really, that's the only thing that changed. But everything will stay the same. We got basketball. We got football. We're actually starting some hockey, so that's a new thing later on. But wrestling's still a thing too, so we're okay. But it's Justin, Steve, and Jesse, and we are back to break down Week 17 of the NFL season. It's done. We're into the postseason, and we'll preview that later this week. But they did it. They made it to the finish line. Granted, they tore both ACLs and both knees, got a few black eyes. They fell, they stumbled, they're scraped up, but the NFL did it, and they're done.
Got COVID.
Oh, yeah, that thing.
Got COVID a couple times.
That little minor thing. But Week 17, it's in the books. The playoff picture is set. Let's go through a few games, shall we?
We shall. I'm excited to be back here. It's been a nice little winter break that we had here. We regrouped, we refreshed. I hinted at a big rebrand, and we changed the name, so that's our big rebrand here. There's more to come, so just stay tuned to all we have planned. So I'm very excited to be back, though.
Yeah.
I would like to let it be known when I thought of the department podcast name, I said the sports department. And then I was like, or department, whichever you guys like. And everybody was like, oh, yeah, I like department.
6 months
but
in.
I thought of sports department first.
And as you can tell by the rebrand, the logo, we just add sports to it. Nothing changed. It's literally the exact same thing, same color, same
Jess.
Everything. Yep, she was compensated handsomely. So,
well, not by me, so that's fine with me.
Yeah, it was with money. So let's talk some games. And with that, Clark, let's lead things off with you. You're a little chuckly over there.
I am very chuckly. I'm happy to be back. I'm very happy to be back. Like I said, it was a long time away.
Both of our teams made the playoffs.
But I don't want to talk about that right now because there are bigger issues to talk about in football. And I have to go to Sunday Night Football to start. It has to be the way to start. Washington football team, Philadelphia Eagles. We expected this game to be okay, decent. You know, Jalen Hurts, an up-and-coming quarterback that's doing pretty good over there in Philly. You had Washington, who's been on a little bit of a hot streak. They beat a good team in Pittsburgh. They have a very good defense, actually, and they have Alex Smith doing great things for them. And we expect this to be a shootout, or what? Not even a shootout, just a good
competitive game.
Because if Washington wins, they're in the playoffs. But if Washington loses and the Eagles win, then the New York Football Giants make the playoffs. But as we've all seen the horrible game on Sunday Night Football, the Eagles basically threw in the towel, screwing over the Giants, putting in some bum I've never heard of before. No disrespect to him because he is an NFL player, but he is a bum. They put him in. And they basically threw the game, giving Washington football team the NFC East and the last playoff spot in the NFC. So I'm just baffled by this. I'm still baffled to this
clear tank job. And of all games I decide to watch for Sunday Night Football, just because I wake up early to go to work the next day, this was the one I decided. And that was the outcome I saw. And looking at what happened with them pulling Jalen Hurts and deactivating Wentz well before the game, so they had no intention of using Wentz. You know, at first, it's like, okay, you know, there's reports that the relationship's fractured. He's done, right? So clearly, they bubble wrapped him to trade him or get rid of him, and they want him as healthy as possible.
Yeah.
And now that they put in Sudfeld, it's clear that that's what they were doing. They were tanking, but you can't kill them for tanking. It's just how they blatantly did it. Because you look at the Jets, you look at the Jaguars, yeah, they were tanking to an extent, but just because they were a bad team, right? And the issue with this is that it was on national television. The world was watching. The fact that two of the major markets of Dallas and Giants going into this game, regardless of how their game ended, they would be watching this game to see if they were to get into the playoffs. So you had a potentially two pissed off fan bases, and you got the Giants who are very vocal about it. And Doug Peterson just looks like an idiot. You know, obviously it wasn't him going rogue and him decided, let's tank for the draft pick, even though it went from 9 to 6. Big drop off there for him. This came from ownership. It came from the GMs. and they just look utterly terrible, but they're not going to come out and outright say they're tanking because they just can't. So Doug Peterson has to take all the slings and arrows of it.
Yeah. I've gone back and forth on how I feel about this numerous times because if they were tanking, come on, the Jets tanked the whole year. The Jags tanked the whole year. I mean, how mad can you be? But like they put Sudfeld in, and then they were like, "Oh, well, we need to see, what we're getting out of him." Why would you put him in the fourth quarter of a 3-point
That's
game?
garbage. That's such a garbage excuse.
But it's like,
just
wouldn't you want to see what you have in your potential franchise quarterback? Like, see how he can come back from being down?
Exactly. That's the guy you should be looking at, not Sudfeld.
well, that's the thing. He was putting them on his back towards the end there. When Jalen Hurts got pulled, he just had a good series. So that's the other thing. It's not like he threw the interception, then got pulled. He started to bring them back, then he got pulled. And that's what made it look so bad, was that he was making an effort to win them the game, and because of that, he got pulled.
And the thing is, too, Sudfeld's been their backup for 4 years. He was on the Super Bowl team.
He's been there. He's
should
been there
know-
for forever. Yeah.
You should know what you have in him then. Why do you need to look at it?
Yeah. No. And no. No. Sudfeld is at his best a Chase Daniel type, where he's going to be the backup quarterback who helps other players learn the playbook. He's not your backup quarterback.
He's a glorified. He's a glorified coach.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's what he's been with the Eagles since he got there. That's what they've had him for this whole time. He's consistently been their third, fourth quarterback. They don't want to play him. He is a guy who is there to help other players learn the playbook. And now he's in this position where they were like, "Oh, well, we need to see what we have in him." No, you know what you have in him. So now it's like you're lying even more, because we already know that you've had Nate Sudfeld for 4 years. This isn't an undrafted free agent that you signed over this year and you were like, "Oh, well, if we're getting rid of Wentz, we need to see what we have in the backup." You already know that. But then again, it's like, well, they weren't playing for anything. So how mad can you be?
Yeah.
And also, I'm sorry, but if the Giants want to piss and whine, you guys
Win more
won 6 games.
Yeah,
I
win more
was gonna
games.
bring that up.
Win
Yes.
more
Yes.
games.
And Joe Judge is outright, he's come out and had a few press conferences and said, he's like, the first thing he's like, we should have, gotten our stuff together and we should have won more games. But then he started going integrity.
You were 1-7
game.
at week 8.
Well, that's the thing. They had a great
Yeah.
they had a good second half, but it's like they at least are putting. But it's also
So did the Vikings, but
Yeah. It was too late for them.
it's a 16-game season.
Yeah, I agree with that point, but Doug Peterson did say earlier in the week too he wanted to get Sudfeld reps this Sunday.
He was planting the seeds.
He was planting the seeds indeed, but you can't do that when it's that close to
No.
the game. If it's a 21-point plus game,
The
sure.
fact that the NFL flexed this game because they thought it'd be at least competitive and entertaining,
Man.
and to see the finger poke of doom on football essentially happen in front of everyone's
Yeah,
eyes, it left a bad taste in everyone's mouth.
And
that's how the end of the season, and
I
that sums
see a
up
lot
2020
of-
football.
Yeah, I see a lot of Philly things too, of being like, "Oh, well, we're from Philly, nobody likes us
They're gonna be
anyway," and all that
insufferable.
stuff. And it's like, this isn't a thing. This isn't a
It's not
hill to
about you.
die on. You guys were bad the whole year. You
Yeah.
guys tanked to get a higher draft pick. Like, don't
Just
don't
stop.
be like, "Oh yeah, everybody hates us." You guys were bad. You weren't
Yeah.
good the entire year.
And I'm
So don't
yeah.
make this about you.
Ugh. So let's just
Yeah.
move on from this game then. Jesse, you're up.
Oh, all right. Let me see.
Ooh.
I'm gonna talk about this one because this was.
Are you making
the
fun of the
bet I was
Broncos or
highest
Falcons?
on. No, Packers, Bears, baby. Packers walked in as a
Bears.
-4.5 favorite. And I told both of you guys earlier in the week, I bet on that in about 4 different bets. And man, the Packers just rolled them. And it's a goddamn shame that the Bears are going to be in the playoffs. There are so many better teams in the NFL than the Bears.
Most of which are in the
lot of them.
AFC.
Yeah, just look at the Dolphins, for example. Like, they got screwed.
Dolphins screwed themselves at the end, but we'll get to that.
They did, but they're a 10-5 team, or 10-6 team.
Yeah, to win 10 games, miss the playoffs, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Horrible. But yeah, Bears in the playoffs. Back to your point, Jesse.
Everything that everything
Packers
for the Bears.
The 1 seed here.
Yeah, but everything for the fact that the Bears got to the playoffs with a loss with Mitch Trubisky sums up the Bears perfectly, because this was a team that's essentially bounced back and forth between quarterbacks all season, and now Mitch Trubisky is leading the way. After he started, 4-1 with them? So now this puts them in an even more awkward situation. Do you, even though they didn't pick up his option, do you commit and try to build around him?
If you
reset?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any way they do.
Isn't, but he did get you guys to a playoff spot. It might not
Let's
have been
see how
pretty.
He plays in the playoffs. That's the big thing.
They have a tough test against New Orleans, so I don't know how good they're going to do there. It depends if Drew Brees' noodle arm holds up. But
soon to be retired noodle arm.
That's true.
I said this offseason, the Bears should target Cam Newton, and I think they should again this next offseason.
Fun.
I think he fits in Chicago. They have the defense. They have some type of a run game. He can be the focal point of the offense that can, Cam's not at that MVP level anymore where he can carry a number 1 ranked offense, but he can get you middle of the pack offense.
Yeah.
And that's not what the Bears have with Trubisky and Foles right now. I think their best bet would be to go out and get Cam Newton. Let Trubisky walk. I would just do a straight up competition between Foles and Cam, because as of right now, what Trubisky gives you, does Cam not just give you it all but better?
Yeah.
The running ability, the deep ball,
and that's the
all
thing.
of that I think
the
is
size
better
is basically similar.
But that's this game in general also just showed me honestly, they're the least impressive team in the NFC in all the playoffs.
In all the playoffs.
Ignore Washington's record. At least they can somewhat move the ball on offense.
Washington could beat Chicago, I think, with that stout defense they have, and if Alex Smith plays really well,
I would bet on that.
But Packers got the 1 seed, so the road potentially runs through Green Bay. Potentially, if they don't.
Yeah, well, even if you just look at the box score, if the Packers don't score again after the second quarter, they win. Yeah. They scored 21 in the second quarter, that. They have such a quick offense that can score so quickly, and the Bears just get absolutely no breaks on offense. And that's what's going to be scary about the Packers in the playoffs, is their big playability is only rivaled by the Chiefs. They would have had another touchdown, I think, in the second quarter if Valdez-Scantling doesn't drop a wide open touchdown pass. So they had a chance to put up almost 28 in a quarter. They are a very impressive offense. I know we're not doing a predictions right now, but the only thing that I worry about with the Packers is their inconsistent run game. But other than that,
once Aaron Jones
they have to be the favorite in the NFC right now.
Once Aaron Jones flips the switch, he's a great running back. It's just he does it inconsistently at times.
And even if he is inconsistent,
I think they also have kind of gotten on the Rodgers MVP bandwagon. I think Green Bay kind of jumped on that, because even when they didn't need to keep throwing the ball,
they started
in this game.
They
kept throwing the ball. Yeah.
They ran it up, which is fine. Which means they're behind their quarterback, and they want him to get the recognition they think he deserves, which is good. That means it's a healthy culture there, and Matt LaFleur is doing a good job.
LaFleur. Yeah. But even if Aaron Jones doesn't perform to the capability that we usually see him do, they have a beast rookie in AJ Dillon back there that could still do pretty hard numbers.
And imagine what this team would look like if they actually drafted a weapon rather than Jordan Love. Yeah. Not saying that's a bad pick, because we don't know. We won't know for another 3 years, if that. But imagine if they actually got a Jerry Jeudy or a Justin Jefferson and moved up for him.
I was about to say Jefferson was on the board for them.
Yes, he was.
Wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. So the offense is great for what it looks like, but it could have been so much better. And let's move things along. And I want to talk about a game near and dear to my heart, and that's the Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts, they needed either the Browns, the Dolphins, the Ravens, or another team. Drawing a blank.
What'd you say? Browns, Dolphins,
Browns.
Ravens, Titans.
There we go. The Titans to lose, and all they had to do was beat the 1-15, 1-14 at the time, Jacksonville Jaguars, the one being the Colts in that record. And they had to make it interesting. Aside from Jonathan Taylor literally carrying the Colts to winning this game by putting up a team record of rushing yards of 252, I believe, was the final total at the end of it.
And it was 9th highest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the fact
9th highest all time.
The biggest issue with the Colts, and it's been an issue for since the Ravens game, if I'm being honest, even maybe the Raiders, they're around there, right? So mid-November to now, they are an absolute terrible second half team. They really are. They come out and any momentum they have just dies. It doesn't help that, yes, Rodrigo Blankenship missed a field goal to end the first half, but also that's 57 yards. That's a lot to ask of a rookie kicker. And he had the accuracy, but it was short. And then he came out and missed another one. And then the Jaguars came down, scored 2 very quick touchdowns, and they were only up 6 or 7 at that point. But Taylor was able to have the breakaway touchdown and seal the deal. The Colts, they are going to heavily need to rely on the run game.
Yeah, even if they get past Buffalo this weekend, which is a tough, very, very tough task. You got to go into Kansas City next week, and Kansas City is a second half team. So I, in the Colts, obviously, like you said, aren't, but good for the Colts. I'm happy. You're happy.
Jesse's definitely happy.
They got the job done.
But my takeaway
good for the Colts. Jaguars get that number 1 pick.
Yeah,
good for them.
I hate that there's debate that Fields can still get that pick, but it's Lawrence.
He's not going to.
Last little tidbit on this for me: Phil's arm going deep. It's Drew Brees-esque at this point now
because he had 20 yards max downfield.
He had one bad interception that was the classic TY post route from Andrew Luck. And if they had any other quarterback with semblance of arm strength, that would have been a touchdown, but it just kind of floated around the 5 and was easily picked off. But they were able to hold on. So that's fine. Yes, Jesse.
I can't pick the Colts with Phil Rivers as their quarterback going into Buffalo.
Well, the problem is they need Jacoby Brissett to manage all the quarterback runs to complete to be one whole quarterback because they just can't have the mobility out of Phil Rivers. And that's ignoring the toe injury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think even if Rivers wants to come back, I mean,
it seems like
extremely limited.
The reports seem to be
with the way Frank Reich wants to run the offense.
It is run, and then bomb it deep.
Fit the offense. Yes, and Rivers isn't that. Honestly, Cam Newton would be great in Colts uniform too. I think with Frank Reich.
I wouldn't mind Cam.
I think it works better than Phil.
It's better than the rumors of
better than
Wentz. Better than Wentz, I'll tell you that.
The ceiling is Matt Stafford. The floor is Carson Wentz. So
ceiling's Dak, man. Dak.
I think the floor is Philip Rivers. I mean, if he comes back, I think I'd rather have Wentz over Rivers.
I would.
Especially going into a playoff game. Like Rivers, there's a reason Rivers has never made it past the championship game or even only made it to one championship game. It's you in those positions, in those playoff situations, you can't have a quarterback that makes the dumb mistakes.
That's true.
You can't have a quarterback that is like, screw it. There's a reason why, as good as Brett Favre was for all of his career,
one Super Bowl.
He only made it to and got one Super Bowl because he threw them out of games. And the same thing happened with Philip Rivers over the years with the Chargers, and I don't expect that to change now. But that being said, I think the Colts are a quarterback away from being 12-4, 13-3 next year, especially because that division really isn't getting any better. I mean, the Jags are going to get Lawrence, but Houston's still a mess.
Houston's
still be a 6-10 team.
Every year with Tennessee, you're running the risk of the wheels falling off because as great as Derrick Henry is, the second Derrick Henry takes a step back, that offense falls apart.
Definitely.
Yeah. And last tidbit for me on this game.
The Colts window is now.
Now.
And the last tidbit on this game is I don't think I've ever seen a rookie player progress as quick through the back end of the season and go from like 0 to hero more than Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Not just because he's, a Colt, but he finished the season with over 1,000 yards and he had like nothing at like the midway point.
I think all that just happened just because there was no preseason and all that stuff. He had a very, very slow start. But that's the preseason and all that like training camp stuff is used for rookies and people who were signed in free agency or trades to get accustomed to their team and all that. That's why even like Cam Newton started off decently, but like even like going back to the Colts, I guess we'll stay on the Colts one. Like Phillip Rivers didn't start too hot, but then he had that stretch from mid-November to like December where he was really good. Didn't throw like only maybe one interception in 4 games. Like then everyone started like the pieces just started to like fit together finally. And like that's what we found out with Taylor too. He became the beast that we saw in the college tapes and that he was supposed to be this like little built meatball that can just run through people and just power his way to the end zone. That's what we finally started to see. So props to him.
Yeah, and let's power ourselves to the end zone of this game and move to the other one. And Clark, we are back to you.
Back to me. Well, like you said, the Colts made the playoffs, but they couldn't have done it on their own. They needed the help of their opponents on this Saturday, which is the Buffalo Bills, who defeated and romped the Miami Dolphins 56-26. And if this game showed me anything, it showed me that Fitzpatrick should remain the starter in Miami and Tua should just practice and keep learning under him because Tua, I hate to say it, is not ready to be a starter yet in the National Football League.
Which is fine because we used to see it.
Yeah.
Where, I mean, look at Rodgers. He took the back seat for 3 years. Jordan Love's doing the same thing. Mahomes redshirted, 15 games. The process used to be, you don't play for that long, like your rookie season, and then you get thrown into the mix. And it's just because it looks like Tua's afraid to take the shot downfield. And now that could be because of, Flores' technique of bringing in the relief pitcher and going to Fitzpatrick when things start to go awry. And maybe he had that idea in the back of his head, kind of what we saw in our own college team where the quarterbacks were afraid to make a mistake because then they get the hook.
Yeah. No. Like you said, Justin, it's fine.
That's what I totally credit to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Clark, go ahead.
But yeah, no, he's fine. I think it's like, fine that he takes a step back and just collects himself. Yeah.
Well, and the thing is too, they have the 3rd overall pick. Thank you to Houston. That if they really wanted to pull an Arizona Cardinals, I'm not saying they should, but they have an asset to make a quarterback change if they wanted to. I don't think they should. I think they should ride it out another year or two and then make that decision when they get there. But also at the same time, they could use that pick and get Tua some legitimate help so he feels better to take that shot downfield.
Yeah, I mean, another option too with that number 3 pick is if they trade it back, get even more picks, and then let's say a guy comes out in a couple of years that they really like when they fully decided to is not the guy if it doesn't pan out. So Miami has options here. Look, but Flores is a great coach.
Yeah.
Nobody expected them to be here. He really coached them up. They do have to think really hard about that number 3 pick because as long as they have Flores, they're never going to be picking that high with their pick, barring injuries.
They'll be a teens pick for a while, teens to 20s.
Exactly. Even if they don't make the playoffs, even if they don't make the playoffs, they're going to be, in that conversation for playoffs always.
But the fact that all they had to do to secure their playoff spot, granted they had to beat the Buffalo Bills, who were a powerhouse this year and a very good team, but they also pulled Josh Allen, in the second half, and Matt Barkley picked up where he left off. And just kept running the score up. And at the same time, you're not going to tell them pull the dogs off because they're playing for tape. They're playing to get reps. You want them to get experience in case you have to break glass and go to them. But the Dolphins just couldn't even stop a nosebleed. And this was a team who was built on their defense.
And the crazy thing about that is
the second quarter alone, Bills put up 28. It was done.
Yeah.
Like second quarter 28, they go into halftime 28-6.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a real big thing to overcome, especially with a rookie quarterback.
I think the crazy thing with this is that over the last few weeks, we've been praising Miami's defense and what a great job they have done. Then they get 53 dropped on their head just like it's nothing with Matt Barkley and Josh Allen.
56, my bad.
56, even worse. It's I don't know what to make of Miami. They're hot.
They were ahead of schedule. This was a team that's young, ahead of schedule, and they got a heavy dose of reality this week.
There you go.
And it leaves just a sour taste going into the offseason that, Tua was struggling. They could have had Herbert. You see him, tearing up with less. coaching wise, at least in
Yeah.
LA. And now there's a lot of questions, and that's what they have to assess and deal with going into the offseason.
Yep. There you go.
And with that, we are back to norms.
Norms.
Normie.
Normie.
You thinking?
He's thinking.
All
He's
right,
thinking.
let's go Bucks Falcons.
Ooh. Is he lagging?
Yep. I think he said Bucks Falcons.
He did indeed say Bucks Falcons.
He
So
is
we'll-
frozen on our
so
screens.
we will
But let's
pick
talk
up-
about Bucks Falcons, Justin.
Yeah. Well, and he picked this game to probably make fun of the Falcons, but they lost 44-27.
Oh,
Oh, are you here? We got him back?
hello?
Bucks Falcons.
He's lagging.
Well, we're back. The podcast is back.
Yeah. Nothing like Ethernet
Connection
problems.
dropped. He texted both of us right now.
Ah, damn. All right,
Connection.
well, we'll just keep going with it. Oh,
Oh,
there, oh he's officially
Have
gone.
fun editing that one.
It's not getting a frame then. Well, so Bucks Falcons. Brady looks good. They look like they're ready to go for the playoffs, but they could have lost Mike Evans, which was a kind of stupid decision. See, you look at some teams, they play the starters, and then
Yes.
this happens, and it comes back to bite them, and then it looks like a dumb decision. And then you look at teams like Kansas City and I guess the Eagles, where you pull the starters just to rest them, in Pittsburgh especially, to bubble wrap them and get them ready to go. If they lose Mike Evans, that's a problem. They're playing Washington. We'll get into that later on. But nonetheless, the Bucks look good. Tom Brady looks like he's ready to take him to the playoffs for the first time since 2007. And the Falcons are a joke, but they gave him a little bit of a game for a while, but the Bucks pulled away. It was a good game. It was a good, let's get ready for the playoffs type of game.
Yeah, Tom got the job done. Fantastic game. Like you said, Buccaneers look really good. I want to look at to the bigger picture about this. Like in a couple of years, if Tom Brady still continues to play football and continually gets the Buccaneers to the playoffs, say for the next 2-3 years from now, and the Patriots continue to decline and don't
Tom
make
Brady
the playoffs,
for another 3-4 years.
it's possible. I think he has
He'd
another
be 46, 47.
We'll have another 2. I think 2 to 3 left.
He's definitely got. I don't know. That's a lot.
Say he has one more.
Yeah.
We'll go next year. He makes the playoffs and the Patriots don't make the playoffs again. I think Tom Brady was the reason, not Bill Belichick, why they made the playoffs in New England then and not Belichick. If they continue to decline in New England and if Buccaneers make the playoffs. It's a lot of ifs right now, but I'm just saying that Tom could be the reason why they made it, and not just Bill. And we can settle that debate once and for all. But
on the flip side, the Falcons, okay, they're going into the offseason, no GM, no coach. You know, Matt Ryan played. They look good. They put up some points, and they're on to the next one.
Might be the end of the Matt Ryan era in Atlanta. We'll find out.
That core could be going nuclear, which would be very interesting to see.
It's going to be a fun offseason. We're going to have a couple fun episodes
on
for
this
sure.
Stuff. And we're back to me because Jesse's gone.
Because Jesse's not here.
So let's talk about a milestone that got hit by Derrick Henry, and he is the 8th running back to rush for 2,000 yards in a season. He did it effortlessly against the Houston Texans, and he needed like 230 yards going into this game, and he got it with ease. You know, at halftime, he only needed like 88 yards, and everyone's just like, oh, he's going to get it at that point. You know, he's going to get it. There's no way he's not going to get it, but he did. And great for him. You know, he's had 3 Hall of Fame caliber seasons so far, you know, in a row. He's just one of the best running backs. I'm not ready to put him in the Hall, but he's had a Hall of Fame caliber seasons. And the Titans look good. You know, if they run through Derrick Henry in the playoffs, they could get back to the AFC Championship game. They are built for postseason football, and they easily could. And this is a terrible look for the Houston Texans. Bill O'Brien is the gift that keeps on giving. They go out with a loss. They got doinked home because so close. But this just proves Deshaun Watson is one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL because he single-handedly almost won this game.
Yeah, that's the only thing that scares me about this Titans team going forward is that they let the Texans score 38 against them. Yes, they have Deshaun Watson, a top 5, top 3 quarterback in the league, but he doesn't really have anything else around him. A lot of these other teams in the AFC have a really good quarterback, a really good offensive line, a good running back, great receivers. I don't know if the Tennessee Titans can compete. I think maybe they can get past Baltimore. Maybe I don't even think they can, honestly, just because of how the Ravens have been playing and Lamar's been playing like a madman lately. But like back to the original point of this whole game, Derrick Henry. It's really hard to root against him, even though we have to a lot of the time because he's in our division.
He's in the South.
He's a lot of fun to watch. He's like our generational running back that we're seeing. Like there was the Barry Sanders in the past and all that.
Is the thing.
Yeah, man.
A 6'2" man should not be able to just run through people like that, but he does.
Yeah,
and hopefully he doesn't break down for a long, long time because he's very entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it's a shame
that arms are fantastic.
It's a shame this happened this week because it kind of Jonathan Taylor's little runs he had there. It got overshadowed by the King 2K stuff and
how are we gonna call this one? Because we had like CJ 2K.
I call him King 2K.
All right, that works.
Yeah, he's King Henry. Man, he's the man. It's so much fun to watch him just run over people and just fall forward every time. It's fantastic. Good for the Titans. They won the division. They haven't done that in years.
They could have choked the division away too because they don't. The fact that it's like, all right, the Texans came down, they tied it. We're going to overtime. Anything could happen. 1 yard, 50-yard bomb from Tannehill to AJ Brown field goal range. And Solomon, I don't even know the kicker because Gostowski's out for COVID. Double doinks it in basically off the crossbar, straight in, and they're winning the division, and that hurts. Going back to the Colts fan, it's glad I'm glad we're in the playoffs. Not glad we're playing, but when we were that close to get a home game, would have been nice.
It would have been nice to have won, but beggars can't be choosers.
Exactly. So Clark,
we're in the playoffs. They're in the playoffs. Should be a fun playoff.
So Clark, before we hit the break, one last game before we take a break.
These games don't.
Yeah, we're going into the non-important, non-factor playoff game, non-impactful games, basically.
I'll go to this one because this one kind of made an impact in a way. The Rams and the Cardinals.
Okay.
The Cardinals only put up 7 points in this game.
Battle of the backups, essentially, after.
Yes, battle of the backups. But this was the chance for the Cardinals to get the last wild card spot in the NFC, but they messed it up. If they would have won, they would have made it.
Yeah, John Wolford of the AAF leading the way potentially to a first playoff start. He wasn't prepared to play in the NFL considering he still had an active LinkedIn profile. But if Kyler Murray doesn't go out there and pull some form of muscle, I think we're seeing something completely different at this point.
Yeah, me too. I think they're in the playoffs. The Bears aren't, but a lot of us predicted the Cardinals to do really good this season. We were half right. They were really good in the beginning of the season, and they kind of fell off once Murray got injured. But they this is a big step forward for them.
And Jesse's rejoining the show, slowly getting in here. But
but it's a big step forward for the Cardinals. They have a lot of work to do still, but good for them. Look who's back.
There he is.
What did I miss?
We talked about Derrick Henry getting 2,000 yards. We talked about the Falcons Bucks game, and we're on to the
Rams Cardinals right now. Do you want to make fun of the Falcons a little bit before we head into break?
I wasn't going to make fun of them. I was just going to say good for the Bucks.
Okay.
I mean, hey, maybe the Matt Ryan tenure's over, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes in Atlanta. Good for Derrick Henry. He should probably be Offensive Player of the Year, because he's not going to be MVP because he's not a quarterback.
There you go.
So I would give Derrick Henry Offensive Player of the Year.
What about the John?
Yeah, good for Tom Brady. The what one?
John Wolford and the Rams.
I mean, hey, little stat on that: Jalen Ramsey the whole year let up 20 yards per game.
That trade paid off.
He is. I mean, I don't think there's an argument. He's the number one corner. I think in the NFL, at least shutdown wise. You could have the Xavier Howard argument as a playmaker.
But that's just this year, Howard. I feel like Ramsey's been consistently like at the top of his game. I agree. Ramsey's top.
Like Howard's been a Pro Bowler, but he hasn't been top tier. Lockdown.
Yeah, I agree.
No, and Ramsey. I mean, that's ridiculous. I think at the height of Revis Island, Revis was allowing like 40 yards a game, and Jalen Ramsey was half that.
Wow.
This is the best.
And a lot of people like to point to games. Yeah, a lot of people like to point to games like DeAndre Hopkins had a good game against the Rams.
It's like,
when he was lined up against Ramsey.
Yeah.
You can't always have the number one guy on the number one guy. It's not how it works.
No.
they will line them up differently to get them their catches. Good for the Rams. I mean, they've had a weird season. I mean, like, I don't know how good they are. I don't think they're very good. I'm going to be honest. I don't think they're that good of a team. I think they're really built on their defense. And that's weird considering they have such an offensive
It's amazing
system
how
that
they're
everybody has really talked
well. That's the
about.
thing. The boy wonder Sean McVay turned Jared Goff into a great, statistically a great quarterback, and now he's regressed back to the game manager he was with like Jeff Fisher when they first found him.
Yeah, it's weird, and the playoff games be weird with them too because we're not gonna really see what they have yet because they're playing Seattle, which they already played twice this year.
And if Seattle looks like they did against the Niners, Rams could easily win that game. And we'll get into the Seahawks definitely after the break at some point.
Yeah.
And do we know if Goff is playing yet, or is it Wolford?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I would assume it's Goff, but
Goff literally relocated his entire thumb, which is just disgusting.
You got to do what you got to do, man. I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows? One thing I do know is that this half of the podcast is over. So we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll blow through the rest of the games that basically didn't impact anything and are insignificant to Week 17, but they were played, so we should talk about them. So that's what we'll do. We'll be back. All right, welcome back to the Week 17 recap of the NFL season with Justin, Steve, and Jesse. Hopefully, Jesse's here for the entirety of the of the rest of this half because he had to take a little quarter break, basically.
And find out.
So will you. So with that, let's get to the rest of the games. These don't really matter; they're insignificant. They were played because they had to. So let's lead it off with Jesse, just because I don't remember who was picking.
Yeah, I went last. So
yeah,
Jesse.
so Jesse.
Yeah.
Oh, nice. All right, the king of the entertaining but didn't matter games, the Vikings-Lions.
Yeah.
Wow, this was fun. This was a good game to watch.
This was
Adrian Peterson had a couple big runs. There was a bunch of touchdowns. Marvin Jones torched everybody. Justin Jefferson broke the Vikings record. There was a whole lot of offense and not really anything else.
Yeah.
And Kirk Cousins looked great in that 1:00 window when nobody is watching him.
They got to give him the obligatory Saturday 1:00 game for the playoffs if he ever gets there again somehow.
They should.
Dude, if he played in London, the Vikings would put up 63.
It'd be the greatest show on turf.
My biggest takeaway is that Kirk Cousins hit the gritty. That's what I got from this.
God, that was like if
we waited the whole year for this.
We did, and he did it.
Here's my thing.
Yes.
Was this a goodbye game to Detroit for Matt Stafford?
Very well could be.
Was he waving on the way out, and he gave him something fondly to look back and remember him by? Because he easily could have packed it in and just said adios.
There's a lot of free agents.
That team, the Lions, is probably
so many teams.
Unattractive job for anything.
Yeah. Well, there are so many teams that would be better if they have Matt Stafford. And I even mean playoff teams.
Just anybody.
The Bears,
the Broncos,
the Colts, the Steelers. The Broncos are not a playoff team.
I thought you said non-playoff teams.
The Jets.
No, I mean even just look at the playoffs. Look at the playoffs and the
Washington.
I honestly think they're not going to move off of them. But the Browns,
the Titans,
the Saints.
Imagine the Titans
would probably be better with Stafford.
The Saints. Literally every team except Kansas City. Literally every team except Buffalo, Kansas City, and Green Bay.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. They're
come to Indy.
There are a lot worse quarterbacks.
He would have three things he's never had.
So many.
Four things: competent coaching, we think, good ownership, a run game, a defense, and an offensive line.
If he came to Indy, yeah, competent.
And Jim Caldwell loved his time in Indy, and Matt Stafford and Jim Caldwell, they're tight.
Yeah.
Jim Caldwell got fired for the same exact reason he did in Detroit as he did in Indianapolis, 9-7. But boy, would they love to have those days back. But nonetheless, Kirk Cousins, he looked good in this, but they are tied to the hip for him, and this is what they're going to get is mediocrity.
Yeah, poor Justin Jefferson. He broke the rookie record.
He is so good.
So that's fantastic.
He is so
that's
good.
A big takeaway too from this game. beat Moss's record. Then he had a little Moss cleats in the pre-games that he didn't wear. Thank God, because he would have gotten fined probably his whole rookie contract.
So stupid.
That's good for Justin Jefferson. He's proving to be the best receiver in the class. Very potential to be offensive rookie.
And there were a lot of receivers taken ahead of him.
A lot, yeah.
Ruggs, Lamb, Judy. Yeah, 3 right there.
Rager
was right before him.
Oh,
Right before him.
Rager was like 4 picks ahead of him.
Yep.
Yeah, I think, or something like that.
Very, very close. They were very close. Either like 4 or even 7.
brutal.
It's okay. The Eagles could have had DK Metcalf, but they took JJ Arcega-Whiteside.
Brutal drafting from Philly.
Yeah.
So let's move things along. I'm up. I will throw Jesse a dog bone, mainly in the dog pound. We're going to Cleveland, Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Browns. The Browns are going to the playoffs, first time in basically our adult life that we can remember.
How'd you let that happen?
They
Because
almost
said
screwed
everybody.
this up. They almost screwed it up.
They almost did. You're right.
Well, their coach. They don't
They
have anybody.
almost did.
They don't have
They
any
had
coaching
Mason
this
Ru-
week.
They don't have.
The offensive game plan for the Steelers was Mason Rudolph just throw a bunch of jump balls.
Figure it out.
We'll see if our receivers come down with them. And we don't really care about this game. And they still almost lost.
Yeah, thanks. Trying to make it harder for us to get
Oh
in.
man.
But
God,
they
the
do
Steelers
play
are
each
gonna
other.
Roll them this week.
They do play
They're
each other
roll 'em.
this week. And like
Well,
as
'cause
much
they don't have an offensive coordinator or defensive coordinator. Oh yeah, and a head coach. Their special teams coordinator will be calling plays for them.
Steelers should, of course, win this week. But
We'll get into
besides
that.
even the all COVID stuff, as much crap as we give the Steelers, they are a good football team, and it's hard to beat a good football team 2 weeks in a row just like that.
But also
So,
props to Cleveland for finally getting over the much big hump of not getting to the playoffs. The drought's over.
Yeah.
They did it, so they can at least have something to cheer for. And they're playing into a week into January.
How funny is it that they got to the playoffs and the team that they're playing is Pittsburgh? Like
Yeah.
Pittsburgh has crushed their hopes and dreams since 2002.
since they've come
every
back.
year.
Since they've come back.
Yes.
As a franchise.
Pittsburgh is like I think Ben's lost like 2 games to Cleveland his whole career, and now they get to play them in the first time they make the playoffs since 2002.
It could be a good game.
If they win, Cleveland is it might burn down. The whole city might burn down.
The city,
It's
the city might
get
fall
the
apart. And it's just a playoff game. Not
the
even
guys
Super
in
Bowl.
Philly who
We're climbing the
looped up
poles.
the poles. Yeah, get those guys into Cleveland too. They need a whole. They need they need
Like
everything.
LeBron's
there if they somehow
championship
beat
look like chump
Pittsburgh.
change.
Oh God, there's gonna be remember the LeBron poster? There's gonna be a whole
Baker
Cleveland
Mayfield.
Browns.
the Baker Mayfield
Yeah.
one.
Oh my God, it's going up in the same place. But yeah,
Instead of witness, it just says like progressive.
the Baker Mayfield progressive commercials are so funny.
Fantastic.
I just get so much
Fantastic.
He's
enjoyment.
a better
out of them.
actor than a quarterback.
Oh, I agree.
100% agree with that.
It's just like they're just funny. I just enjoy them. They're stupid, but they're good. But they do their job.
yeah.
So Clark, you're back up.
Jesus, I don't care about any of these games right now. I'm gonna go with
the
the guy
NFL.
we loved to praise who put on a really good performance.
There's one of
on
those guys still
Sunday.
in this.
Justin Herbert against the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs benched a lot of their starters. And Chad Henne got the start too. And Chad Henne did not look that bad too. So that
What's
was
that
cool.
Andy Reid system, baby?
It's the Andy Reid system. But
Maybe
it
the
did-
Bears will throw him a big contract.
With Chase Daniel.
but it did give the Chiefs their second loss. Doesn't matter anyways. They clinched up the number 1 seed and they have a bye this week, so we're not going to even see them play this week. But the Chargers won. They have a lot of potential going forward, especially now since that Anthony Lynn is gone as well. A lot more potential than they had than on Sunday, but good for them. Great.
Herbert's proven everyone wrong that the accuracy issues in Oregon were just because they didn't let him throw properly or good enough routes. But Herbert looks really good. They have something potentially brewing there out in LA, and it all depends on who they bring in a head coach. And with some rumors being Jason Garrett, that is a funny thing to see and
That's
think
hilarious.
about.
That sucks for Herbert. That sucks, honestly. Like
I would bring back Anthony Lynn at that point. If your
I'd bring
only
back
option
Anthony
is
Lynn,
Jason
too.
Garrett, bring back Lynn.
That's sad. But hey,
Jesse, any
Chargers.
thoughts?
I mean, not really.
No.
All right, cool.
I'm
We're in
gonna
that
be
point.
honest. Like Justin Herbert is the offensive rookie of the year. He's fantastic. He's by far the best quarterback. I think that's come out of college, and I can't even remember how long. He's been
Luck.
fantastic.
Maybe.
Maybe Luck, yeah. I would maybe Luck or Cam.
Mahomes.
Well, no. Mahomes didn't play his first year.
He played a game.
Played a game, yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Jeff, you're right.
Besides Luck or Cam, I can't remember a quarterback who was, changed
Dominant
so much
from the start.
Yeah, set so many records and everything. So no, Herbert's really good. He's really special. He's a lot of what I expect Trevor Lawrence to be when he comes into the league.
Let's not hope so.
Oh.
So
once he leaves the South, he can do whatever he wants.
But yeah, the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. They didn't need to play anybody. They made sure of that. Yeah. Well, if they never lose that game to the Raiders,
they're undefeated.
They're undefeated.
They try for the undefeated.
They would. Yeah, exactly. They could have gone 16-0 if they didn't lose that game early.
And they lost to the fraud Raiders too. That's hilarious.
Oh boy! And with that, we're sticking with Jesse.
Oh, are we?
Wait, did you just pick this game?
No, I did.
No,
okay, yeah, Jesse, you're up.
All right.
Do, baby.
The Las Vegas Raiders.
There we go.
Yeah. Woo! The Elway.
What else?
Esque.
So okay, I just want to talk about
Elway fired and then promoted himself.
Elway fired himself into a promotion. That's it. He fired himself into a promotion
because
that's hilarious. Also, apparently, Vic Fangio, the head coach who's already there, he's not only is he still there, he is going to be integral into the picking of the GM.
It's an Adam Gase situation.
Oh, that's so sad.
Then Fangio will get fired by that GM next year. It literally, this is just for Elway to insulate himself to take all the blame off of him from that team. It's like, well,
yes.
I'm
110%.
old. I want to do other things.
If Peyton Manning does not go to the Denver Broncos, which, by the way, was not that hard of a sell as everybody makes it seem. Like, everybody's like, oh, well, Elway got Peyton there. The only team that made the playoffs that was interested in Peyton Manning was the Broncos.
Yes.
They were the only ones that offered him the best team. They had the Tebow year where everybody and their mother knew Tebow was holding the Broncos back. So obviously Peyton was going to go there.
Come on, he threw that slant to Emmanuel Sanders.
It was Demaryius Thomas.
Same thing.
Emmanuel Sanders was still on the Steelers at the time.
Same thing.
Same thing.
But yeah, I mean, Drew Lock threw 2 interceptions. What else is new?
What else? Jerry Jeudy.
No, I'm sorry, not Drew Lock. Drew Lock didn't throw 2 interceptions. Drew Lock didn't throw any interceptions, and they still lost.
He's building momentum
Derek Carr
for next
didn't even have a good game.
The big year 3, baby.
Jerry Jeudy showed a lot of potential.
The Broncos
finally did something.
I liked.
Oh, Jerry, that's the thing. This Broncos offense should not nearly be as bad as it is.
No.
I mean, they have players at every position. They have a top 10 pick, and they're not going to – I bet they won't even spend it on offense because Vic Fangio is going to be in charge of it.
They're taking it safe.
Guaranteed. They're taking a defensive lineman or a linebacker.
Probably.
And they're just going to run with Drew Lock.
You gotta have the triplets of Chubb, Miller, and ex-pass rusher. But – Oh boy, man. The Broncos, they are a disaster.
Yeah.
No one knows. Elway's still running the show. He can promote himself because ownership doesn't care.
Elway is still the president of football operations.
Of ops. Yeah, he signs off on everything.
Hilarious.
So he still has the final say over the roster. So it's hilarious, honestly. It's really funny.
Yeah.
Stupid.
It is. But that's John Elway, and he's well. The problem is he's still a legend there, and people still go to the games wearing Elway jerseys. So he's never and ownership. Yes. The Bolin family love him, because he won the Super Bowl for Pat on the way out.
Well, also the oldest Bolin passed away recently.
Yeah, there's also just something
not recently.
There's like there's like a lawsuit going on of who rightfully owns the team.
It's just a disaster up there. Brother and sister. It's like the Lakers situation
with the buses. Jeannie and
Jeannie Bus
the brother
was like, Jeannie was like, I'm not getting involved and everything. Yeah, it's ugly. They have lawsuits going
That's
on.
That's why
for
Elway can just do
whatever
the hell he wants.
Yeah.
They're not going to fire Elway.
They're not worried about the
they don't want to look
football.
bad.
They just want to see who owns the team. But
no.
It's a disaster. Oh boy. Speaking of a potential disaster, let's talk about the Seahawks. And they played the Niners, right? They only won by 3, and they didn't look that great. For a while, this was like a 6-9 game, I think. And it was
Yeah.
just like this is the Seahawks who we thought, MVP Russell Wilson, they're going to, march their way to the playoffs. If they look like this, they could be an early exit.
I don't think they were trying too hard. They had that. They were trying for the number 2, but it would have been kind of rough to get the number 2
It didn't
spot.
matter even if they won. Yeah, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
And Green Bay had already locked up their number 1 seed.
Exactly.
So
So
Seattle was playing for
Nothing.
nothing really here.
Yeah, I expect a different team.
And they still won. So
I hope
Saturday.
it's a different team at least.
I hope it's a good game. It's not the night game for some reason. It's the 4:00 game on Saturday, but
The scheduling, is this the – oh, no, this isn't the Nickelodeon game.
no, the Nickelodeon is it's the Bears and the Saints. I
Yo.
think.
Oh,
If they want kids to get into
Why?
football,
They're
show
gonna
them
have
a
Jimmy
good
Neutron
game. Show them the
explain-
Ravens and the Titans or something.
They're gonna have
Don't show
Jimmy
them that
They're
one.
gonna have Jimmy Neutron explain why friggin' Mitch Trubisky sucks. SpongeBob's coming to Madden. That's also
Carl
another
Weezer
thing.
coming to fullback or something like that. Oh yeah, SpongeBob is coming to Madden. That's
oh God, I hope there's a Patrick Star fullback card.
Is that enough of this game? Are we
sure.
Yeah, sure.
I
All
think
right,
so.
Clark.
Oh, okay, this one's still decent enough.
Four
Giants and
games.
Cowboys. Because
Ooh,
at this
yeah.
point, when the Giants won,
Both teams
this
were
game,
playing for something.
they were playing for a chance to make the playoffs, and the Giants did win, and they still needed a football team loss to make the playoffs. And we talked about that the first game of this episode, so we're not going to come back to that. But the Giants do have a lot of potential. They need to re-sign Leonard Williams. He is a monster for them. I'm
Which
so
is
happy.
amazing because I know when we were on radio back then, when that trade happened, I was killing them. They gave up a lot for him. But it's amazing how you play somebody in their actual position and they thrive when they have actual people next to them.
There you go. They have a really decent defense going on there. They'll have Saquon Barkley back next year. Evan Ingram is garbage, but what are you going to do?
He needs to go.
Yeah.
Xavier
but
McKinney had
he's
a big
Pro
play.
Bowler.
Yeah, he had that game-stealing pick, basically. Yeah.
How is he a Pro Bowler, but Robert Tonyan, I don't think is. And Tonyan had 10
Giants
touchdowns.
have more fans.
Yeah.
Giants
It's a
have more
popularity
fans.
contest.
Oh, it
That's all
absolutely
it
is.
That's all it is. But no, Giants tried. They tried their best. They should have won more games throughout the season, like Jesse said earlier. But
they ended
won
on a high
against-
note.
They won against the boys, at least. Yes, sir.
Real quick, we didn't hit on this for the Niners Seahawks game.
Ooh.
Is Garoppolo their quarterback next year?
No.
Kyle Shanahan
Can't
said yes,
be.
but they have a top 12 pick. And as we've said, I mean, Stafford and the Kyle Shanahan offense, give it to me.
MVP right there.
Us three aren't fans of him. I don't think he's anything special. He is literally just.
He's Alex
All right,
Smith.
so
He's a
I'll
game
phrase it
manager.
this way. 2021 first game of the season, San Francisco 49ers. Is Jimmy Garoppolo the starting quarterback?
No.
Yes or no?
My
I
heart
say Nick
says
Mullins.
no, but my brain says they're going to stick with them.
I think they'll stick with him.
Yeah.
One more year then.
I think if a quarterback falls to them in the draft,
They might
they
take
will
him.
do it. But I don't think John Lynch would make a trade for one. I think
he's
he
gonna-
likes. I think he likes his picks too much.
Even if they do draft a quarterback, I think Jimmy G still does start until
Still
he gets
stays
injured
for a year.
or
Yes.
something. Yeah.
Well,
When he
injury-
gets injured.
Yeah, when he gets injured, he's on the
When
one
he
wagon
gets
at that
injured, not
point.
even if he gets injured, it's when at this point. Yeah.
Giants. though. Yep, cool.
Yep, cool.
All right, and norms.
I mean, Cam had a good game, so we can talk
Yeah.
about the Patriots Jets, I guess.
Yeah, some reports
Cam-
saying he's
Cam
not coming
accounted-
back.
Yeah, they said he's not coming back. He accounted for all 4 touchdowns
Caught one.
that they had. He even caught one. I think, I mean, if the Patriots didn't, they were very up and down the whole year. Cam did not have a number 1 receiver the entire
He
year.
barely had a number 2.
He barely had he didn't have a lot.
He had Jacoby
the
Myers.
line wasn't great. And the defense wasn't spectacular either this year. So I still think you can win with Cam Newton in this league. I think he should go somewhere that will fit his system. I think Chicago would especially work. I think Indy could work. I think, honestly, if Philly is trading away Wentz, I would bring Cam in as a backup insurance for Jalen Hurts if you could convince him of
Well,
it.
and you would think then too, Hurts and Cam, very similar play styles.
Very,
as rookies.
Exactly.
So he could kinda
So
tell him
you
the
wouldn't
do's and
really need
don'ts.
to. Exactly. If you could convince him to take that kind of backup role, if another team doesn't come calling, I don't know what New York is going to do now, because if they had the number 1 pick, There was
It's
not
easily
a way.
Lawrence.
There was no way you didn't go Lawrence. Anybody who had the number 1 pick, you had to take Lawrence. He is the best quarterback prospect of the last, at least since Luck, I would say. Since Luck.
Which
I
we're
think
going
he's
on
a
a
better,
decade.
and I think he's better a prospect than Luck. He's just won more. He's done more than Luck did. But
That's fair.
some people say he's the greatest quarterback prospect of all time. So you have to
very well
take him
could be.
1, but now they're sitting at 2, and they just drafted a tackle, so they don't really need Seawall. Do you take Justin Fields? Is he that can't miss prospect
I
that you think he is? Or
the best
because you
move
already
for the
have
Jets.
Darnold there, is trade back. I think it's got to be. I think
Yeah,
you need
that's
to.
the best
I think
move.
hopefully a team falls in love with Fields and jumps up to 2.
And they
fall
give
in love
you
with Fields.
don't trust Ohio State quarterbacks. Simple as that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's a tad different than Dwayne Haskins.
I just don't think. I think he's not an idiot, which is a big plus.
Which is apparently.
I just think he needs a little bit more grooming. That's it.
Yeah, he just needs to play more football.
Yeah.
And we're on to me.
2 more.
Yeah. Which game would be worse for Clark to introduce?
Thank you.
Screw it. I'll go with the Ravens and the Bengals.
I think that one was worse, but go ahead.
Yeah, it is. I'm taking that bullet for you.
This one was over.
Yeah, it was a wash. This
started.
was one of the games the Colts needed, and I knew this had an absolute 0% chance of the Bengals ever winning at all, considering it was a win and in game for the Ravens. So they had to, and they had it with a statement. They ran the ball and ran it some more and ran it a lot more, 400 yards total on the ground, and they are built and ready for the postseason. It's as simple as that. Since the Colts game, the Ravens have been one of the hottest teams in the NFL. And quite frankly, I wouldn't want to play them.
Lamar completed 10 passes, 3 of them were touchdowns. If they can keep it that way, they're going to be
set.
just fine. But they're playing Tennessee, and we know how that went last time.
We'll see.
Yes, we do.
This could potentially be one of the quicker games of them of both teams just running the ball.
Yeah, just running clock.
The clock will not stop.
No.
And now looking at Cincinnati, to no fault of their own, they fell out of this Sewell conversation. I think they're at 5 now.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's fallen that far.
No,
Could they potentially be a team to move up to 2?
I don't think they move up for a tackle, but at this point, if you're sitting at 5, you got to think Lawrence is off the board, Sewell is off the board, Fields is off the board, and then you're kind of playing like, do you take a wide receiver? I don't think Cincinnati needs another weapon.
You got T. Higgins. You got a bunch of guys there.
They have AJ Green's old, but they still have him. Taj Boyd.
Boyd and Higgins.
They have players there. So I think if you're sitting at 5, maybe a team wants to trade up for that big play wide receiver, trade back. You can't get the number 1 offensive lineman on the board. So try to get, maybe number 3, number 4, and hopefully get a high 2nd round pick or a 1st round pick next year, because Cincinnati's got to build up that line for Burrow when he comes back. They have to. What they were rolling out was not nearly enough. They have weapons for him. They have Mixon. They have the wide receiving core. They have things, but they don't have a line to protect him.
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
That's what they got to do. And with that, last game breakdown for us this season of the regular season, not the postseason. We'll be here for all the rounds leading up to the Super Bowl. But Clark, close it out for us.
Yeah, last game of the regular season. A team that we loved, the lovable losers that they were, the Carolina Panthers, who played just horribly this week. Bridgewater was bad. The PJ Walker came in. Colts and XFL legend PJ Walker came in. Didn't do anything as well. I'm just excited to see what they're doing next year. They have a great receiving core over there. CMC should be back, hopefully healthy. Maybe get rid of Bridgewater, honestly. I like Teddy, but I feel like they can do so much better in all the quarterbacks that are free agents this year. But on the flip side, the team we should really be talking about is the Saints. And Drew Brees performed what he needed to do. He did well. All of their running backs were gone during this game, and they did what they had to do to get the win, and they're looking good going into the playoffs. So they're the biggest threat to the Packers in the NFC, I would say, but Packers are still my pick to come out of there.
And this very well could have been Breeze's final regular season game we see out of him, because reports are saying he's donezo after this. He's going to NBC potentially.
And I hear how people are talking to Rivers too to be a
people are talking to Rivers big time.
Yeah. Because they want him to be like the next Romo or whatever. Imagine Rivers with his accent and his trash talk on commentary.
That'll be oof. But yeah, Saints clicking, ready to go, and they'll have Alvin Kamara back in the postseason. It looks like so good for them.
Yay! Boo! I hate the Saints, but yay!
Yeah, and with that, we're done. Week 17 podcast in the books. Oof, we got an NBA one this week. We got hockey next week. We got picks, and then we got some wrestling. So, Clark, where can people listen to us?
Oh wow, I haven't done this in a while. But I gotta thank the viewers, of course, for listening to this episode of the Sports Department podcast. Like I said, subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're changing our social media handle. It should be changed within the next couple of days, but it's the same one as it is right now at department_pod. Follow that on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. We're the Sports Department now, like Justin said at the beginning of the show. So we're the same podcast. We're talking about the same stuff, just a different name change. Maybe a little different feel with a little more different graphics and stuff that our lovely friend and Justin's girlfriend Jess is working on and all that stuff. Just cleaning some stuff up, I think he told me, and all that. I don't know the exact wording of what she's doing.
It'll look a lot better than my crudely photoshopped Microsoft Paint looking frame. So it'll be better.
So Jess is doing a lot of work for us behind the scenes, person that doesn't get enough credit. So thank you to Jess. Like Justin said, hockey, football predictions episode, basketball, wrestling recap, most likely. So all that fun stuff is coming to the Sports Department podcast. So stay tuned to all that, and we'll see you in the next episode.